Hello, the internet. We're here. Lexi, say hello. Oh, point. Damn.
Yeah.
um, yes. Welcome to the stream and the review. Thanks for coming. Thanks for hanging out.
Works. Always.
Awesome. So yes, if you're tuning in for the first time, we're Massive Damage Adventures, Skyhammer Press. We do reviews and actual plays and all sorts of various things. Tonight we are talking about Star Trek Adventures, the Lower Decks campaign guide. Uh, oh, Zawookie, yes, there is in fact an entire Lower Decks campaign guide for Star Trek Adventures, a full 250-page book, and we're gonna flip through it right now.
Yeah, it's packed.
It's packed full of super cool
Like,
stuff.
that's the one thing that I will say before we even get started. Like, it is dense, but not like too dense. Like,
Yeah,
it's a good amount of information, but not like overwhelming. So yeah,
yeah, they fit a lot in, and like some sort of topics that you wouldn't really expect would make it in this particular book, but make sense, and we'll get to those.
absolutely.
Um, General sort of things to talk about. Um, just in the world, in the news and whatnot. The Gloomhaven RPG is up on the backer kit. They're doing their backer kit campaign right now, and they just got their goal. I mean, it was
Yeah,
not,
unsurprising.
yeah, completely unsurprising that they were going to hit $2 million. I was just surprised that they didn't hit it within the first day.
Yeah, that's it's surprised it went as slow as it did.
Yeah.
That's the most surprising thing for sure.
Did you back it? Are you backing it?
Not yet. It is my plan is to. We've been talking with a couple of friends who are just kind of planning to do it together, so we're still kind of figuring that out. But yes, the plan is to.
Excellent. Yeah, I have been talking with their community folks, and we're hoping to get some sort of preview so that we can check it out on stream.
That would be amazing.
Yeah, hoping
Waiting
that
for that one.
hoping that it'll come together, while the campaign is going, and we can push more people to it. But yeah, so that's super cool, and it's a ridiculous backer kit campaign where they're doing the Gloomhaven RPG, but they're also doing minis for all of their games. They're doing Gloomhaven Second Edition and a Frosthaven reprint.
Yeah, which is super exciting on all fronts. Like
That's so much.
just awesome.
Yeah. Um, an update on the channel. Hellbreakers, our The Expanse RPG actual play that we play on second Mondays, will not be playing this Monday. We're moving this Mondays to July 3rd. So our schedule will be July 3rd, July 10th, and July 24th. And then we're going to take a break because Jen and I are going on vacation.
That's what I'm doing right now. It's pretty great.
Definitely recommend vacations. um, Star Trek news. Did you watch Star Trek Prodigy?
I have not yet.
Well,
It is on the list, but
if you're interested in watching it,
next one.
watch it quick.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so Paramount Plus just reneged on their second season order, and they're pulling season 1 off of Paramount Plus. We're in Canada, so I mean, we're probably still going to have access to it on Crave,
Yeah.
but they're shopping the second season. The second season is apparently like most of the way through production, and then they're going to shop it around to other networks.
Oh, great.
But it's all up in the air as of this morning.
Great.
Yeah, I'm not a super fan of that one. Well, I'm not a fan of what has happened. I am a fan of Prodigy.
Yeah.
It was fun.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's just an interesting thing, which is too bad. It really feels like Star Trek's in like a golden age right now, and part of that is having all of these like really really cool shows that appeal to different audiences.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Like there's a lot of different facets of Star Trek going on, which is is pretty interesting.
Yeah, it's super good. I mean, I love Discovery. I am incredibly in love with Strange New Worlds.
Yeah.
Last night's episode, did you catch that?
No, not yet. That's another one of those ones that it's still on the list of
On
things
the
to
list.
start.
Second season, second episode. Goodness.
Excellent.
Like top tier Trek, top tier TV.
I've been kind of feeling like getting into some Trek recently, so that's probably a good place to start.
Yeah, that's a good one. But we're here to talk about Star Trek Lower Decks.
Which is a hilarious show. If you haven't watched it yet.
Such a good show. Oh my goodness.
I've seen a few episodes. I haven't gone through all of it, but I've seen quite a few, and it's so good. Just top tier.
I don't know, like you were talking about how the book is dense. This show is dense with lovely Star Trek things.
Yeah.
Like they get 50 jokes into a minute.
It's crazy.
Yeah. What's the Wookiee saying? That was a fantastic episode. I've been gushing about it to my friends whenever I can. Yeah. So good. And then, yeah, so thank you to Modiphius Entertainment, who sent us a review copy of Star Trek The Lower Decks Campaign Guide. We're going to take a wander through that. And you know what we'll do? We'll start with the back cover. Well, there's the front cover. I'm going to show the back cover because I'll tell you what's in the book. The Funnest Frontier. The Star Trek Lower Decks Campaign Guide expands upon the core Star Trek Adventures role-playing game experience by providing detailed advice on creating junior officers and using them to tell amazing Star Trek-style stories with the fun, irreverent tone presented in Star Trek Lower Decks. So, the stuff that we're gonna see in this book, that you get in this book, an extensive discussion of the state of the galaxy in the late 24th century, which is the 2380s, if you're counting. Detailed information on the Lower Decks junior officer experience. New life path options, so 8 new playable species. Game statistics and graphics for 7 space frames, and statistics for over 20 more new ships from Starfleet and other polities. New gear, technologies, and creatures, as well as a complete system for creating your own creatures, like a milkable spider cow. A wealth of advice on game mastering Lower Deck style campaigns, whether you're playing a Starfleet campaign or one based on another polity. More than 50 non-player characters, a 3-part mini-campaign focused on junior officers, and a foreword written by Star Trek Lower Decks creator Mike McMahon. McMahon? I've never actually heard it.
Sure.
McMahon? I've never heard it said out loud, I think.
One of those weird spelled ones.
Yeah.
Gaelic descent.
Indeed.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's just McMahon.
McMahon. And we've got, 240 pages. And on top of the 3-part campaign, there's also 12 of the mission briefs, which I love.
Yes.
I love them so much. Here, we'll pop right all the way back up to the beginning. We got this lovely table of contents. All right. So, anybody in the chat, feel free to stop us at any point and ask questions, but we'll just kind of start from the top. The chapters are State of the Galaxy, Starfleet Support Operations, the Lower Decks, Science and Technology, Player Options, Game Mastering, Starship, Starbases and Vehicles, Allies and Adversaries, and the mini-campaign.
Also important, index.
And the index. Get a good index.
Yes.
Here's our forward.
Which, let me say, like, hilarious right off the bat.
Yes, just funny. Good to add a little.
Are serious business, don't you know?
Serious.
I love that.
So yeah, the we got an introduction. We don't need to worry about that. It just goes over what's in the chapters, but like one thing I love about this book, the art. Thank you for creating all new Lower Deck style art.
Yes.
New characters. Look at that beautifully cut Andorian. And he's still an ensign. He's got one pip, but he looks like he's a commander with that beard.
He's ready to go.
I'm on page 9. Yeah. Yeah. And then, so yeah, we got the galactic overview. The galaxy as of 2380. We are after Nemesis, but we're before Picard in that sort of, what is that, a 20-year gap?
That nebulous unknown zone.
Yeah, the really like cool spot that for decades I've wanted them to explore. I'm like, give us some TNG sequel stuff, and we're finally getting it.
Yeah.
Hopefully we'll even get Star Trek Legacy.
Pretty cool.
Did you watch all 3 seasons of Picard?
No. Again, another one of the ones on the list of things.
On the list.
So many things on the list.
There are many things on the list. There's too much wonderful stuff for us to watch.
And now as you're like asking this, I'm realizing that I'm so far behind on all the Trek stuff, and I'm like, shit.
There's a lot of Trek.
Catch up on all this new Trek stuff.
All right.
I watched any of it, honestly.
So
It's fine.
yeah, it's fine. You get to it. Yeah, so pages 10 and 11, we got the United Federation of Planets overview of what it's like in the 2380s. Lovely sidebars of just hilarious Lower Deck stuff.
Yeah.
But, like, it's good to have this overview of the Dominion War, the Romulan coup, the return of the Voyager. Like, we've got all of this detail to really help you out, because, I mean, when's the last time you watched Voyager?
Actually, last year, but
Okay, well, there you go. I haven't seen it in about 10 years.
yeah, I was catching Sierra up on some things. We've just recently rewatched all of TNG and Voyager and
DS9?
no, we were just getting into that when we got distracted by other stuff. But we were, I think we were getting into, we were starting to get into Enterprise. That's what it was.
Ah, Enterprise, yeah.
But yeah, we watched all the TNG movies as well, just kind of doing some like re-trekifying of ourselves.
I
Apparently I need to do that again.
Yeah, obviously. Now you got to get all the modern stuff. I actually just finished a rewatch of all of DS9 like 2 months ago.
Nice. Yeah, I've got some friends doing that right now.
Because, like, up until now, the Star Trek Adventure stuff has really been taking place in the 2370s. It's like the Shackleton campaign guide, which I have behind me right there. It starts before the Dominion War, but then gives you stuff if you want to run it through the Dominion War.
Oh, okay, right on.
Yeah, and then so this campaign guide really, it moves you forward and lets you continue.
After that, yeah.
Yeah, but it's also got like recommendations for if you want to run in the original series.
Yeah.
But not a lot. It's not as supported.
Yeah.
But lots of like the art on page 15. Lots of stuff in here to like feed your imagination, get you to think of where you could take your own campaign.
Yeah.
Excuse me. Especially since we know that the Romulan sun is about to supernova and Spock's going to disappear. And yeah.
So many future events that we kind of know about coming up, but haven't quite happened yet.
Yeah. And then here we go, page 16. We're going to get into the Klingon Empire. I love the letter home.
Yeah.
There's a little sidebar right here. There's a lot of things like this. I'll read this out for people, but this is the Klingons have worked together with Starfleet through the Dominion War. They're pretty friendly. Ish. But now we get Klingons going to Starfleet Academy. Mother, father, I do not prefer to mince words, so I say this. I am journeying to Starfleet Academy. There I shall excel in their Starfleet Tactical School and bring great honor and knowledge to our house. My decision is made. Your fourth child, Pukoth.
Just absolutely logical. Like, how can you argue with that?
No, this is great. Good job, Pukoth. Join the Federation. Romulan Empire stuff. Touches on the Remans and Shinzon, which is great. And then we get into the Packlets. And stop me if you want to comment on any of these and how they've presented anything.
I do want to say I just love how they set up the Packlets, because like we don't have a whole lot of experience in the show. There's a couple of episodes. I'm trying to remember if it's TNG or if it's Voyager. I think it's Voyager that the Packlets show up.
I think they do show up on Voyager as well, but they definitely show up in TNG where Data and Geordi get kidnapped.
Right. Yes. Okay. Yes.
Yep.
Yeah. But this, I have to say, like, this is one of my favorite races that
Really?
come out with. Because like I was commenting to Sierra earlier, because they feel like the red green of races.
Yeah.
They just duct tape everything together until it works, and it works surprisingly well a lot of the time. And it's like they're fucking amazing, and I
They're
just
super
love
funny.
how they continue to like how they were portrayed in this as well. So like it stayed very true to their spirit, and
and
on there's some like campaign ideas about Packlets and very very on par for their whole
yeah, it's wild how Lower Decks has built them out, and it's great to see that they did it here. I actually just watched, like I was like just before dinner, I watched the Packlet episode in season 2 of Lower Decks.
Okay.
With the spy who is on the Cerritos. So good. Oh, and there's the picture of him on page 25, floating by in space.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, and then we got other polities that have been mentioned in the show: the Collectors Guild, the Drukmani, Galrakians, Temerians. It's nice to have this. Everybody, of course, you may not remember the name Temerian, but you know Shaka when the walls fell, and so on from early TNG.
Yeah.
Darmok and Jalad at Tanagra.
Yeah.
And you get to play as one of them. You can. They are a species in this book. Orions.
Be very interesting to try and like either like take all these and like try and memorize all these metaphors, or like come up with your own that mean stuff, and like maybe you have a companion character that knows exactly what you're trying to say all the time, and you just text them under the table. This is what I mean.
Yeah, I mean that works.
It would be an interesting experience and very fun to play, and like one of those interesting role play things.
Yeah.
So I'm glad that they put them in and like let them be a thing, and kind of gave a bit of direction to them, because it would be a challenging role play experience, but very rewarding and very fun if you could pull it off.
They did establish that now that it's 20 years later, the Universal Translator can do some of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like you can talk, but you should really use the metaphors.
Yeah, it would be more fun.
It'd be cool. And then
do like a side campaign where your Universal Translators.
Oh yes, there's always
have to like get by.
There's always that episode, of course.
Exactly.
I'm always a fan of Orions, and I've loved having Tendi as a main character on the show. It's just fun, and so here we get a little bit more of them. Got a section on notable worlds in the galaxy that the Cerritos has gone to. And then we're into support operations, which I feel like is the meat of the book, right?
Yeah, I feel like
I mean, yeah.
Yeah, going over how this everything comes together.
Yeah. The next 2 chapters are really like, let's make this game into something that you would see on Lower Decks. We're doing our second contact ships, our support ships, and we got a lovely D20 table of support operations on page 35. So, Lexi, you're going to have to babysit an ambassador's child or pet.
Here you go.
I mean, that sounds amazing. Obviously,
Never goes well.
Never goes well. Obviously, it goes out, it gets out, or it, like...
turns out to be that horror-rich child that just will not say no for an answer. Or
yeah. Oh, hey, look at that. We have Jim Johnson in the chat. That is the lead developer for Star Trek Adventures. Thanks for coming by, Jim.
Amazing. Thanks for coming by.
And gifting subs. Welcome. Thank you for making this super cool book.
So far, I love it.
All right. So let's keep on going through Lower Decks. General Order 3, the Federation Diplomatic Agenda, preparing for diplomacy. So just, all of this kind of plays like a manual for the players to really situate themselves on these support missions and figure out what they should expect.
Yeah, exactly. And it goes over a lot of just what to expect on support missions, exactly how, what each of your roles kind of is on that mission, and a lot of those sort of things. The one thing I will say, I think it starts on page 37. Yeah, I think 37 is the first one.
Yeah, I'll go back.
First instance of this little the icon.
Oh, Badgie?
And Badgie becomes your
your little guide through
your
this.
little paperclip, Windows paperclip.
Absolutely.
For the rest of the book. Well, for these chapters, and it's so great. I love
good old Badgie. Love Badgie. Yeah. But yeah, Badgie's gonna help us through. Badgie's lessons on diplomacy and money. And alien contacts. And then here we go. Good, useful thing for game masters as well. What do they have to offer on page 40? So you have a random table to generate what these planets have. What you might need to help them with. All right.
And it does go over information about how to how to kind of build your planet a little bit, economic relations, and things like that. So the random roll table can kind of help you direct a little bit, but you've also got lots of tools for helping direct yourself.
And like you said, this section definitely feels like it's the dense one.
Yeah,
it's absolutely. It's not so much something that you're going to read start to finish, but it's tab this, and when I'm going on a mission, go in and okay, cultural relations. Let's read this section and plan out.
Yeah, it's something you can pick up for when those aspects become important to you. You can be okay, let me go and
good reference.
Reference on this, yeah, exactly. Sure.
Coffee says, "Is swabbing the decks rules for cleaning?" And yeah, swabbing the decks, which is Navy for floor. But we get into chapter 2.3, and we are getting into duties and assignments. So
repairing the station grid would involve so much sprinting.
I love that.
So good.
Yeah. We got our duty shifts explanation, which is always nice to have. Explains the stuff that they talk about in the show without explaining.
This whole section, I really love how they kind of go in depth into the Starfleet operations. Because, once you've watched the show enough, you can kind of pick it up and get a sense of what all of it means. But if you're fairly new to the series, or if you just aren't one of those people that spends a lot of time looking for those details, um, it's really nice to have it all spelled out for you right there. You can be like, okay, this is how this whole thing operates, and I don't have to do any guesswork anymore. It's like,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, perfect.
Yeah.
And, a lot of it makes sense as to why, in some episodes, the alpha shift is doing weird hours and stuff like that. So it's like, oh yeah, because it's all the senior staff involved.
Yeah.
I could go on a rant for about that for a little bit, but
and
in any case, I loved how much information they had just about the general operations of the ship and like how it all comes together. So yeah.
One thing that I really like about it, even just the setup of working on beta shift as lower deckers, is that you're in like the evening when the senior officers are doing their like silly things, when they're doing their poetry readings and stuff. And so there's so much opportunity for that like back and forth and connection and so on with the senior officers.
You're in the galley while they're doing their violin concert, and you get to experience that.
Yep.
Deal with the background stuff that might be going on behind the scenes.
And we've got Coffee says Lower Decks is a great gateway Star Trek. Absolutely.
Sure is, yeah.
And we got Che Guevesa popping in for the first time. Hello. That's our good friend who is somewhere in Europe. I'm not precisely sure where Che Guevesa is, but it's incredibly early for him right now. So thanks for coming out.
As someone who gets up at around like 5:30 in the morning pretty regularly, right there with you, buddy.
Ooh, the death section. Now this one I really want to highlight.
Yes, so good.
Hey, GM Admiral. Hi there. Excited to hear what you think. Yeah. Welcome. We're loving this book. But yeah, the death section. So good because of course like the death of Shax. Sorry, spoilers if you haven't watched Lower Decks. Was such a moment, and then in season 2, it's just like, what is happening? And Lower Decks is a great way to explore that. Che Guevesa says, Germany, it's 4 a.m.
Okay, I'm not quite a 4 a.m. girl, but pretty close. I used to be once upon a time, so.
Yeah, no, not for me. Coffee says that is some
early 20s.
Some dark GM energy to be excited for the death section. Yeah, it's so cool. So okay,
amazing.
So there is all of the like really really good stuff. Check with your group. Make sure that the players are okay with dealing with that in game. Very important. Don't introduce that stuff unless like the table is gonna be receptive. Like why cause those troubles? But it's Starfleet, and main characters come back. So we have an entire D20 table. Lexi, you want to do the honors and see how your senior officer came back from the dead? Roll a D20. You got a D20 handy?
I got one. Oh, I got my fancy metal one handy. Here we go.
Ooh, perfect.
Number 15. Resurrected by aliens.
Oh, okay. That's a classic. And then...
But I do love some of these. I just love how 20 is just no explanation.
No explanation.
They're just back alive. Deus Ex Machina, have fun.
Yeah. And then page 48, we get an entire page of examples from Canon Trek of people coming back from the dead. Coffee asks if it was a Q who rezzed you.
I mean, maybe. That is actually one of the options.
Yeah, exactly. But like it's just fun. And there's so much love for Trek put into all of these Star Trek Adventures books. And like you can see the people who are writing this and Jim who's captaining the ship and putting it all together, like they love these worlds so much. Skipping ahead. If you need to generate a random family event, we got those too.
Yeah, this is the other thing that I wanted to highlight for sure was this whole family section because like it is such a huge part of Star Trek that occasionally people have family or become family via romantic relationships on board. And yeah, like so I love that there's actually a table that, or like a little bit later, I don't remember where it is, but there's the family child ties optional rule for characters in the family.
Oh yeah, here we
go. You can, whenever something happens to the ship, you can roll randomly to see if anything happens to the player's family.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Adds extra layer of complications to your whole endeavor if you decide to have family on your ship with you and things like that. So, and it's a really cool layer to role-playing things. Especially if you're in like a long-term campaign, those things have reoccurring and possibly compounding consequences as you go along.
So
Really cool. I love how they kind of added it in and showed, just like went into a little bit more depth, like how it works to have a family on board, and that there are consequences if you decide to include your family in this intergalactic space travel.
And there's a way for GMs to enshrine those consequences in mechanics.
Exactly.
But we also have up here on the chat GM Admiral, who joined, wrote a bunch of this book. So thanks for coming out. Yeah. One of these writers of the books that we love so much. And congratulations on this super cool book that you've just put out. Which, heads up, anybody, if you're looking at this, you can go and get this book right now. You can go and pre-order it on the Modiphius web stores, modiphius.net.us, and you get the PDF right away, and the physical book will ship when it ships. We got reassignments and transfers, second contacts, Division 14. Okay, we should roll for determining the injury, illness, the cause, and the possible treatment for someone who went to the farm.
Okay.
You wanna do the first 20?
I'll do the first one.
All right. What do we got?
We got number 17. Can't wear clothes and pain when exposed to light.
Ooh, and this was caused by you were bitten by a biomanipulative space flea.
Jeez.
All right, we gonna find out what the cure is.
That could that lines up, yeah.
Oh no! Can't wear clothes and pain when exposed to light.
Emerald-filled neutrino bombardment.
Emerald-filtered neutrino bombardment.
Sorry.
Oh, okay. I'm picturing just the weirdest. Oh, you gotta replicate giant sheets of emerald and put you in a sauna.
I guess so, or like create a very thin sheet of emerald so light can actually pass through it enough. Neutrino bombardment. I guess neutrinos are pretty small, so it wouldn't have to be that.
Coffee asks if you can replicate emeralds. We'll ask the experts in the chat, but as I understand it, you can replicate basically everything except for like latinum and dilithium.
I believe that's right.
Oh. But maybe it was the flea bite that brought you back to life.
Maybe. Explanation found.
Yeah, there you go.
To deal with the no clothes and sensitivity to light for the rest of my life.
I mean, it's coming up. There's an entire section about nudity.
It's true.
All right, Chapter 3, the lower decks. We've got living the life, what it is to play as a lower decker. Focusing on education experience, special commendations, social skills, transfers, field promotions. Like, all of these sorts of things. Oh, we got Jim. Sure, but maybe the cure is only effective with real emeralds. And there's a Ferengi with a supply, and he wants you to undertake some unsavory fetch quest to trade for the emeralds. Subplus. Oh.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah. You see, this guy understands Trek.
Exactly.
That is exactly what would have happened. Perfect.
And then of course your poor ensign is just running around unable to wear clothing this entire
Exactly.
session. Or
Sorry.
no worries. Or that's what happens. That's what happens when a player can't make it to a game, right? You're like, well, we're just gonna roll on the random table.
Yeah.
You're in,
See what they're tempting out with for this session,
and we're
and
gonna
we're gonna
try
go
and
find the cure.
perfect. I'm gonna use that. I'm gonna use
That
that
is
when
actually
somebody
that.
is like, I can't play tonight. I'm like,
Yeah. For and that would actually work really well for like pretty much any campaign where you're like on a ship of some sort, whether
yeah,
it be outer space or water or whatever.
no. Zawookie says tracks. Replicated stuff seems to not be exact replicas. Everyone always talks about how real food tastes way better after all, and that's true.
That is true. Absolutely.
Absolutely. Okay, promotion is punishment. We got some cool stuff in here. There's an entire page devoted to creating your own holodeck simulations. Oh, and here's the nudity one.
Yeah. Although I do have to say, the whole like section on character advancement and career pathing and stuff feels a little too real life, but I can get over that. But whatever.
Yeah,
It's a little too close to.
it's a little too close. Nah.
I came here to get away from this shit.
Well, don't worry.
No, I'm just
You'll
kidding.
you'll get out onto a shuttle, and a supernova will go up, or you'll fall into like the accretion disk of a black hole. We'll get you back on track.
Perfect.
All right.
Back to my random bullshit. Excellent.
We got another fun table. 85. Lexi, why don't you do the honors and let's find out yours and my mandatory bonding time.
Mandatory bond. Okay. Excuse me while I throw my dice halfway across the room. Number 16. A lower deck tournament of skill.
Ooh,
Teams
yeah.
compete against each other in a fun marathon, displaying talents, fixing problems, or getting tasks done as quickly and skillfully as possible.
Oh, already. That sounds fun. That sounds fun. We got more. Let's see. Jim says,
I bet you I can fix this warp core better than you can.
Jim says they joked about this being the Starfleet HR chapter and that Michael nailed it with this chapter. That's what GM Admiral said.
Yeah, it was really good. And yes, there are accretion disk rules in this book. And
sure are. We got a holodeck murder mystery. We got a lounge or bar recital. We got all sorts of fun stuff for bonding time. This is great. Okay, here we go. So if you want to spin your campaign a little bit and you don't want to do lower decks with Starfleet, here's a bunch of stuff if we are in a different organization. We've got the Klingon Empire. We've got the Pack-led lower decks.
And this is the one that I was talking about earlier. The first one especially is just the captain's hat is missing. The old captain was killed when he fell off a railing into a plasma field. He was not wearing his hat at the time, so probably why he fell.
Yeah.
The captain's hat is missing. The first Packlet to find the Packlet captain's hat will become the new captain.
Aha!
It's so fucking. It's amazing.
It's so good.
So good.
Let's see. Klingon Acid Rock, absolutely. Yeah.
Yes. Acid Rock, so good.
Does it have the Klingon D&D game they play in lower decks? I don't think there are rules in there. You got to pay separate for that from the Ferengi book, which isn't out yet. Okay, lower deck Borg stuff. Not what I expected to have. Very hilarious that it's there. Feels like it would be a good one shot.
And I like the idea of having, I like how they came up with just the idea of having a group that had split off from the hive, but also the idea of having people that are still attached to the hive. That's an interesting and fun campaign idea. It'd be interesting. Very interesting.
Earl J. Woods comes in with the lower decks chant, and Jim says, just grab the Klingon core book or Klingon quick start. There's the deluxe Klingon core book right there. The lovely. And you know what? For a second, I am going to just show off the mug that I got for Father's Day. Isn't that great?
That's
With
so
all the
perfect.
kids. Aww.
Amazing.
Ooh. So specific details. The Klingon D&D game was in season 3 and wasn't able to get into this book due to production schedules. So maybe we'll get a PDF resource of it. It'll be a fun one. Be a good like April Fool's thing.
Absolutely, that'd be good.
All right, and then of course we
Just
got
throwing out some ideas.
just throw these ideas are free. Have
Yeah,
fun.
just here you go.
Coffee, of course, says maybe a bonus PDF in the future written by Merrick.
Ooh.
I don't. So we got Vulcans, Andorians, and Ferengi. Ferengi lower decks. Oh.
I'm not gonna lie, it would be so much fun to play a Ferengi game sometime. Just
Yeah.
have a game of ridiculous greed and backstabbing, and like it would just be fun. It would be so much fun.
No. Earl J. Woods, do they reference the koala? Yeah, koala is referenced. It sure is. Oh, what does he know? Oh, and so much fun stuff from the cetaceans as we get through here.
Yes.
Okay.
One of my favorite races. Just
Yeah.
so good.
All right. So into doing the work, we have common jobs for junior officers, and there's a whole bunch. There's tons of stuff. There's a buffer time sidebar, but what I love, again, another beautiful table for menial tasks for junior officers. I mean, just great to always have some techno babble to throw out.
And like that's the great thing about Star Trek is that it's so easy to like come up with some ridiculous technobabble. Just like add quantum to something, and you're probably gonna come up with something pretty great.
Yeah, exactly. You gotta.
But I do like this little table as well.
It's good to have the resource.
It's good to have the resource for like more specific story
And like
ridiculousness.
all of these common jobs, each one of these could be its own session. Like every one of those is a way for a GM to get a new idea. Oh, we're supposed to roll on the table.
Oh,
So grab that. Go ahead.
alphanumeric sequencer.
Excellent. And get to recharging that.
Impulse manifold.
Perfect. We've just gotten your engineering task.
There you go. Have that alphanumeric sequencer and get to reconstructing that impulse manifold.
Perfect. And how
Actually impressed I remembered all that.
it's going to be a 24-hour job, though. I am sorry to report.
We'll be done for a bit. Sorry.
Oh, don't worry. 8 hours of that is buffer time. Oh, and here we go. Quantum scrubbing, dude. Main stage, flux 2 to starboard. We've got side missions for lower decks. 20 side missions and 20 possible events.
And I love how one of them is just clean the citation tank.
Clean the citation tank. I mean, they want you to come swimming with them.
I mean, it's true.
It's gonna be fun. Yeah, so good. And then we have an entire section here on supervising characters so that you can create those NPCs that your lower deckers are gonna interact with. What have we got? Haha, our 10 of the 20 events lower decks die. I mean, number 7 includes a Gorn wedding, so
It's true.
all right, cool. We are into chapter 4, science and technology. So here's where we're talking about black hole accretion disks.
Yay.
Got
My
all
favorite.
got all sorts of serious science stuff to get your brain around. Parasites and symbiotes, nanites. Yeesh. So much.
Yeah, I really like this section because again, like as I said earlier, like it's very dense. Like there's a lot of stuff to it, but it's not so dense. It's not so dense to be a science book where you're like, oh God, why am I reading?
Yeah.
It's enough information so that you can include it in your campaign, but it's not so heavy that you have to like read up on and watch 17 YouTube videos. I mean, I might because that's just who I am.
That's what we do.
But you don't have to, is what I'm saying. With this
Yeah.
information, you could get by.
I think one of the books that was impenetrably dense that I remember trying to get into was the Mage book, like the World of Darkness Mage book.
Oh, okay.
From New World of Darkness, and it was like the text was 3-column text. There wasn't much much in the way of art, and everything was incredibly like specific and detailed.
Yeah.
And like this kind of it's not as dense as that, but it's definitely a lot more accessible
Yeah.
and broken up by, as Earl here says, lovely art.
Lovely art and little sidebars everywhere, which help with
Yes.
like I like that it intersperses it with like little bits of mechanics and things like that, so you can kind of like it to me it's kind of like the whole like teaching method where you read about something and then you put it into practice.
Yeah.
So it's like here's some information on nanites and strange energies and
Strange energies.
of space and time. Uh, but
Yeah.
then there's the sidebar right there. It goes on to tell you about how you would use these things mechanically in the game.
One of the sidebars that I love is the ongoing story of that diplomatic encounter.
Yeah.
That was really fun. So once you get the book and you start looking through it, there are sidebars with different crew members' personal logs talking about an event from their different point of views. Very fun.
Very fun.
The menagerie. Here we go. This is the section to building your own alien, different life forms. So, guide you as a game master. You can build its environment and niche, describe its traits, scale, attribute scores, disciplines, focuses, talents, and special rules, attacks and defenses, talents, giant multi-snake. And then, yeah, the finishing touches. So when you just got to generate something that's going to be on the planet that your lower deckers just drop down on because they got to fix a communication beacon or something.
Shield array. Who knows?
Got to fix that shield array.
I love this because like it again it's very true to track and the whole like new strange wondrous creatures show up all the time, and so it's like here, make your own, have fun with it. It's great. I love it.
Yeah. Wow. Did you see the time?
No.
I know. We're almost at an hour already, and we're 94 pages in. We got to pick up the pace. Are you good to keep going a bit?
Let's go.
All right, let's go. So we're into the player options. New life path options. We said how many? There were 8.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we got Apragosians. Jim, it's a dense book. It's an incredibly, wonderfully dense book.
It's wonderfully dense.
So we got Apragosians you can play if you want to be a little bit influenced by strange energies. We got Cetaceans.
My favorite.
Just fun. We got Clickets, who I didn't realize were former members of the Klingon Empire.
Yeah, apparently.
That's a great little bit there to learn about. We got Exocomps, if you want to play Peanut Hamper. We have the Gorn, which is hilarious, but as I was rewatching a couple of episodes of Lower Decks today, I didn't even realize there's totally a Gorn on the space station in the episode where the Dupler episode. This is just a Gorn walking by.
Amazing.
Oh, we got Kalons, we got Packleds, and we got Temerians. And then we got our gear, and then a big section on game mastering that, this is really good. Again, like you said, reference stuff.
Yeah, like, again, like, so we could probably just like skip through most of this and just kind of say, for the most part, just a general overview of it is that, like, as we said, it's incredibly dense. There's a lot of information here for running your game. And like the thing that I really like about it, I don't remember if it's in this section or if it's a bit later, but part of the whole lower text things is, yeah, here it is, adding the comment on one page 118.
Page 118.
Lower decks is comedy. And
yes.
So it goes into this whole section about like how to add comedy into the game, and like basically like, you know, do your best, but don't force it, because like, really comedy is being relaxed and being able to just find humor in the moment a lot of the time. And like it's humor is subjective, as it says right there. So it's a lot like the whole death part earlier in the game. You check in with your players. What is safe to joke about? What is safe to go a little bit off the rails with, et cetera, et cetera. So again, it comes back to that whole consent thing, and it really hammers it home. And like, I love that. And well, again, one of my favorite parts, Star Trek does not promote racist, sexually explicit, or hurtful tones, which I just love. Like, that's one of those things that is great about Star Trek, is that it's always pretty neutral in its joking. Like, it never really, you know, it definitely pokes fun at characters, but it doesn't ever really poke fun at people's per se.
Yeah.
A lot of the time.
IDIC.
Yeah. A lot of it is non-cruel.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Just going to jump back to one of the first sections in game mastering, which is know the tropes.
Yes.
And that is, yeah, just such a great section to be like, this is how you're going to run a Star Trek game.
Yeah.
That's going to be really fun, and it's going to appeal to Star Trek fans. And like, cloaking devices work sometimes. And I think we specifically had it in here, red shirts, temporal police. I was transported. Universal translators work until they don't. And it's right there. That's, like you said, there's the episode with your Temerian. And again, so good.
Love it, because it just, like, again, these folks really knew Trek when they were writing this. So like, that's what I love. One of the main things that I love about this book is that it really stays so true to Trek in so many ways.
And I think that that's also like just a real strength of Lower Decks, where it could go off in its own direction, but it never does. It's so authentically Trek while being its own thing.
Yeah. It's just those, like, it's just all the parts of the ship that you don't normally see.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
And like, of course, all of the ensigns and everyone behind the scenes is making fun of the officers and everything, because like, we've seen the shows, they're ridiculous.
They're ridiculous. And just wild stuff. Yeah. What have we got? We've got planning story arcs for everybody based on, you know, their department. We got story components to help you build your games. So like, you could just grab the core book and this book and you'd be set forever. Like, all of the detail is here to get you playing the Star Trek game that you want. And although there are many other books, those are all just additional flavors that you can add into your game.
Well, it's great because like with this one and the core book, you can kind of like, you have all the parts of the working ship.
Yeah.
You've got the officers and the lower decks. You can you can flip flop between them. You can integrate them. You can do one or the other. It's
All right, we got a cold opens table. Oh, here we go. We are getting into mission briefs. So we're not gonna go like into the specific mission briefs, except to say that there are 12 one-page adventures, which is so cool.
Yeah,
I love the mission briefs.
Yeah, they're great because it's just like here's a general overview of what is going to happen, and you get to fill in everything in between. So for a lot of those people who just need like a writing prompt, basically,
yeah,
this is fantastic to get, your next session or sessions, depending on how far you want to stretch it.
Yeah, and I mean, if you think about how often we play RPGs nowadays as adults, if we're playing twice a month, and one of these mission briefs is going to get you a session and a half or 2 sessions, you've got a year of content just in the next 12 pages. Yeah. Like, that's incredible. That's super good. And they release tons of mission briefs online all the time. So
just keep you going.
Yeah.
The rest of time.
Let's skip through them real quick. And then we're into Chapter 7, Starships, Starbases, and Vehicles. Obviously, we got to start with the first one. The California class on page 142.
This isn't a friendship, it is a Star Trek. Are you a star or not?
I loved the fact that Lower Decks was like, okay, here's this other class of ship. It's a good, strong workhorse, and it's for operating like non-exploration. Let's just do all of the things. And it's like they say in this overview that it can do a little bit of everything, because it's basically a first responder and a support ship. So, let's see. Earl J. Woods, I came in late. Did I hear there are 2 Lower Decks books? No, there's the one. We were joking about additional books, but
the core book.
Yeah, there was talk that if you wanted to run like an in-depth Klingon Lower Decks book, just grab the Klingon core book right there. But so we've got the California class. Then we got the Luna class, like the Titan. And then we got the Ostler, which this is an Andorian ship.
Yeah, that's the other part that I like, is going into the other starships. And like, we're in the part of the Federation where it's not just like Earth starships that are part of the Federation. There are other starships that are starting to kind of come into the fold now to other designs, which is pretty cool.
Yeah. Oh, we got Jim commenting, there are several Lower Decks products, though, in digital. 2 crew packs, a briefs pack, and a standalone adventure. So, even more. Easily 3 years of RPG content just to play Lower Decks.
And that's right now.
Earl J. Wood says, I hope there's a Parliament class in there. Well, if we skip past Obina, Parliament class.
Look at that.
As requested, Earl. Look at that. Isn't it beautiful? Who's the Parliament class one? This is the New Berlin. Oh. When the Gorn Nest ship suffered a massive reactor containment failure. Interesting. Okay. So there's our Parliament class. We got a big old Vulcan ship. This one is... Who makes the Ganatia? Oh, Tellarite. Cool. Then we got a bunch of notable ships. We've got a space station, some shuttles, Packlet ships, a whole section of Packlet ships.
Which are just hilarious. The Battle Harpy, and then the Sneaky Clump.
Yep.
And then the Searchy Clump.
The Searchy Clump.
I love their names. Most of them are just called clumps, but
the
classes are pretty agreed.
The Packlet Enterprise Clump.
Yeah.
The Toei Clump, the Big Hat Clump, the Killer Clump, and then an entire page on clump ship construction. And it's so funny.
It's so funny. I love the Packlets. They're great.
They're great. And then we've got another section. We've got our Gelrakian ships. We've got the Monavine for the Hysperians. I mean, I could do a Hysperian adventure. That'd be great. Rolling Rock Runs. Hey, hello, welcome to the stream. We got Klingon ships, Drukmani, ground vehicles, if you need your hydro scoot. Transbuggy. Alright, allies and adversaries. Yeah, so we've got, characters who have showed up in the show. Captain Gomez, Ensign Fletcher. We got Mariner's friends, the Oakland officers, yeah. Vulcan lower deckers. I actually could have used... Where is it? Oh, they're not here yet, so I'll save that story. But we got our Kzinti characters. So we do actually have an additional species. We actually have 2 additional here that don't get their own full pages, but and their talents and so on. But if you want, you can use those. Here we go. The Klingon Empire. I'm running a Shackleton Expanse campaign in person right now, and but we're specifically doing like a lower deck style. And when we got GM Admiral following. Thank you for the follow. I don't know why I'll fix that. Our background is behind things. I'm getting distracted. Anyways, in our home game, it's a lower deck style Shackleton Expanse campaign, and so some Klingons beam down because they're looking for some criminals who stole a ship, and they don't beam down. I'm not going to spoil it, but anyways, we brought some lower deckers down. Klingon lower deckers are the ones that our lower deckers have to deal with, and here we go. Could have had those stats right here. No, and now we have it. Ooh, under the Packleds, we have Rumdar, the spy.
Oh, yeah, there he is.
We got some chat. Clump lingered last in line for brains. But the one they got was rotten and insane. Hey, Modiphius, I'd happily buy lower deck battle maps or tiles for VTTs. Jim says the existing Starfleet tiles should work well enough. Yeah. Roll20 does have those Starfleet tiles available. They're pretty good. We use them for our Shadows and Starlight games, a couple of those, actually. Rumdar can leave... Ooh, let's go back. GM Admiral says Rumdar can leave a scene with a special ability. Let's take a look at this special ability. Accidental disappearance. Once per scene, if people stop interacting with him, Rumdar will move into an adjacent room without being seen.
Amazing.
Fantastic. Thanks for pointing that one out. That's great.
That's so good. I love it.
And then here we go. We can also have options for Anabaj characters on page 191. Aha, this boy wants Jama Harun.
It's Mothers. We got some clickets just below.
Yeah, very good. Drukmani, Ferengi.
Guild stuff.
Yeah, and Vindor. Big old Gelrakian champion. We got some Hysperians and the Monavine Bard, which has this lovely ability that caught my eye when I was flipping through the book, the Countersong Field. As an action, scans and teleporters cannot work within long range until the end of the round.
Oh, that's funny.
As the Bard just plays their lute.
It's kind of, I like how it's kind of a throw to actual D&D with the camera song. I love
that. Yeah, Jim says I love the Hyperion talents and special rules. So those are worth a look. Those are pretty great. And then we have a Taxor from one of the early episodes. GM Admiral, that's exactly what it was. Yeah. There you go. Exactly based on Countersong. Agamus.
Perfect.
Gotta have Agamus. And Armus. And the Mugatu, or Gamatu, or Mugatu.
You want to pronounce it?
Oh, it's so good. And they change it as they're going through. Under the special rules, you got a Mugotu, and then under Neurovenom, it's a Mugutu. Under Sturdy, it's a Gumatu. Zewoki, does anyone know if the memory alpha page on Kazinti is still canon? Oh, well, we'll leave that to the experts in the chat. GM Admiral, this is from Jim. GM Admiral got most of the Mugatu alternate spellings in there. Well done. Let's see. Salt Vampire, yeah. Shape Changers.
So very hungry.
Memory Yeah. We've got memory alpha pages aren't canon, according to Jim. Fletcher Infused Computer Core. Very good. And the dog. I'm so happy the dog got a stat block.
Yeah. Very much makes me think of the Florkins from the MCU.
Yeah. The last special ability under the dog, walking and talking and flying, oh my. To quote Tendi, of course she can walk and talk. She's a dog. The dog's focuses rule. All right, let's see the focuses rule. Sitting, fetching, learning new tricks. What's the focus? Where's our focusing rule for the dog? Which one is the focusing rule, GM Admiral? Which one are we looking for? So we got the wall climber. The dog is able to shapeshift, its bones crunching horrifically as she seems to flip herself upside down. Her eyes glow yellow and she skitters up walls at a regular speed. What a good dog. Oh, okay, just under the focuses. We have sitting, fetching, and learning new tricks. She's a good dog. She's good at those things. Oh, dog. All right.
The Lardonian spider cow.
Yep, gotta have it. You can't phaser it.
I hate it.
You spoil the milk.
I hate it so much.
All right, and then we are into chapter 9, which is the final chapter, which is the mini campaign, which we're not going to go into because, of course, we don't want to do any spoilers. But it's a 3-part campaign called Unsung Heroes, where it focuses on the Lower Decks experience.
No, I didn't read too much of this because I didn't want to overly spoil myself in case I ever wanted to play it or run it myself at some point. But yeah, I love that they added in a bit of a campaign here and just kind of glancing over it with all the art and stuff. It looks like it's well put together, lots of things going on.
Yeah, and
it's there's very well set up scenes in order so that if you're wanting to run it fairly linearly, it looks like you can do so in that sense. Yeah.
We have some details. We have some details from the writers. Each mission is a second contact, and fun fact, the manuscript for the second adventure in the campaign was completed and approved before a certain third season episode came out that was thematically similar.
Oh.
That's interesting. It's actually, so you can see the names. It's Lightning in a Bottle, Game Night, and Second Prototype. And this is fun, because, all of this book really gives you the tools to make your own Lower Deck stuff, and all along there's you can take existing adventures and content and flip it into a Lower Decks thing. But here's a campaign that is 100% tailored for this experience that you're looking for. Ooh, there we go. Earl J. Woods, looking forward to receiving my copy of the book I ordered a couple of weeks ago. Appreciate the overview. Yeah, no problem. Always happy to flip through. So yeah, I'm pumped that we have this resource available. This is so good. So wonderful.
Yeah, I have to say it was a pleasure to skim through, and like I hope that I have an opportunity to play a game with this, because like it looks like it would be so much fun to put together a game, and like it's perfect for those times when you don't want to do as serious of a campaign, because it can be as simple as you have some engineering problems you've got to fix or something like that. Like it's pretty low stakes in a lot of ways if you want it to be, but then it can be high stakes if you want it to be. So it's
what if your family member's on the ship?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But I do like that it's it's pretty open like that. So you can. That's kind of the great thing about being part of the lower decks, is that you're not part of the main cast per se, and so like a lot of your stuff is kind of trickle down economics in a lot of ways. You're not dealing with the main problem, you're dealing with all the little problems that the main problem is causing.
All right, here, let's just hit this real quick. GM Admiral has free RPG day in the morning, so it's gonna hit the hay. Thank you so much for coming out and hanging out with us and pointing us to cool things in the book and answering questions. This is an incredible book. Thank you for writing it.
So good.
And Jim says, thanks so much for flipping through it. Grateful for the support. Anytime. Star Trek Adventures is such a fantastic game line. It's created with love and skill. It's very clear every time we look at one of these books.
So thank you. It's so clear that this book was made by passionate people and folks that really did their research and are really interested in the content, not just in putting out a book for this system. It's a labor of love as well, which is just awesome to see.
Jim says you're likely to flip out for the next product. Thanks again and have a good night. Ooh.
Well, I can't wait to flip out for the next product.
Awesome. Exactly. And this game it's so much fun. Yeah. Earl J. Woods is hoping that it's Strange New Worlds.
Pretty cool.
Yeah. Any final thoughts? And actually, chat while you have us here. Any other questions that we might be able to flip through in the book before we sign off? But yeah, Lexi. Final thoughts. This book.
This book, awesome. Like as I was saying, it is a labor of love. Like I just, as I've said several times, it's dense, but it's not too dense. It is a good amount of information, but it's not flooding you with it. And like a lot of it, you can take it as you need it. Like you don't need to read the whole thing to understand it. And play your game. You can be like, okay, so like I'm doing this sort of a game. I need to know about accretion fields for this section of the game, so I'm going to go read about accretion fields for this one. But most of the other time, I don't need to know about accretion fields, so I'm not going to worry about it. So
which is where a good index comes in.
Exactly. So it's great that there's all of that information in there, but it's it's not required to play the game, which is awesome. And I appreciate that about a rules book. Because there are, especially in Star Trek, when you get into all of the amazing craziness that is space travel, there's a lot of weird and crazy shit out there, and it can get pretty, there's a lot going on. So sometimes you do need to focus down and just focus on what's going on right at this moment. And I think this book really lends to that, which is great.
Yeah.
So overall, fantastic. I love it.
Yeah.
Love the art. So beautiful. Well laid out.
Yes. Coffee says, how do I buy it? Of course, you go to modiphius.net or modiphius.us, and you can pre-order the physical copy right now, and you get the PDF immediately, whether you buy the physical or the PDF. Go check it out. For me, I think this is an incredible additional resource to make Star Trek Adventures that much more diverse in the way that you can play the games. You got the core book where you can do the Starfleet experience. You got the Klingon book where you can be in the Klingon Empire. You've got the Player's Guide and Game Master's Guide, the little ones, where you can do a little bit more civilian stuff, where you can be like a diplomat or a civilian on a ship and so on. But then this one gives you that additional channel to run a campaign, and that's just so cool. And it's like incredibly creative and fits a brand new niche, but it's still really accessible to a majority of gamers. And I think that a Lower Decks sort of irreverent, fun game is actually going to be more appealing to a wider audience. Like Coffee said earlier, Lower Decks is such a good gateway trek, and this hits the game table so well.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So, solid entry, incredible book, 248 pages. Go pre-order it right now and pick it up because it's fantastic. I mean, that's the review. That's the game.
That's it.
Yeah. So, anyways, everybody, thank you for coming out and chatting. Really active. Thanks so much to Modiphius for sending us the PDF to review, to Jim and to GM Admiral, writers and developers and owners of this game system for coming out and supporting us and answering questions and being cool. Let's see. I guess keep an eye out for whenever they announce their next book that we're all likely to flip out over. I'm sure we'll talk about it. And yeah, watch Lower Decks if you haven't. Watch Strange New Worlds if you haven't.
I'll get on that.
Yeah. Lexi, thank you so much for coming out and checking this book out with me.
Of course. Always happy.
Yeah. Always fun to hang out. And if you want to see us actually playing Star Trek Adventures, we did a West Marches style campaign. That was 2 years ago, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. Yeah, so we have 9 episodes of that actual play on YouTube. You can find that at youtube.com/@skyhammerpress. It's called Shadows and Starlight, where we have a different sort of selection of players each episode, and each episode is kind of like a standalone story. But we did have a through story of a malfunctioning holodeck, which used...
So
yeah, which used The Darkest House. Oh, excuse me. The Darkest House by Monty Cook Games. So, super fantastic. Zawookie, never trust the devil box.
No.
Cool. Well, that's about it. We are not going to be back this Monday for Hellbreakers. We're swapping that off just to the next week. So if you're looking for The Expanse RPG actual play Hellbreakers, that's going to be on July 3rd, 10th, and 24th. Did I do that right? I think I did that right. I'm pretty sure those are the dates. I keep getting them mixed up. But I don't know. Thank you so much for hanging out. Have a good night, and play some track.
Good night, everyone.
Good night. Oh, my stream deck's on sleepy. There we go. Bye.